named Martin Luther King Sr., and his mother was a teacher by the name Alberta Williams King. He had one brother and one sister. Martin Luther King Jr. was the greatest leader in the world. He also became a powerful speaker throughout the nations, with him leading protests and marches demanding fair laws for all people. He then began to speak out against unfair laws. Martin's education began at Martin Luther King High in Lithonia, Georgia. He also attended Boston University and Morehouse College between the years of 1944 to 1955. He then married Coretta Scott King and had 4 children. Now let me ask you, do you know when all this began? Well, one day Martin was playing football in the backyard with his friends. 2 of his friends were white, and they stated that they could not play with Martin anymore. Me, as a child, why don't you know Martin? Martin cried for days, not knowing why his 2 friends abandoned him. Now think back when you thought your friends or God had abandoned you. Everybody has a season for every activity under the heavens. Like Pastor already said, you'll catch that when you get in the car. Alberta told Martin that many years ago, black people were brought in chains to America and sold as slaves. However, there were still people in the world that treated black people unfairly. When Martin got to Atlanta, he saw white-only signs everywhere. Black people were not allowed at some parks, pools, hotels, and even schools. Can you imagine for 1 second having a white fountain and a colored fountain? Now I know, with this day and time, a few of y'all would have a fit. Now y'all want me to call them out? My mom, Tia, First Lady Tanya, Grandma Madrika, and Papa. Did you know that Martin taught himself how to read? He also became a minister while he was attending college. That is where he met his lovely wife, Coretta Scott King, in 1954. He began studying as a pastor in Montgomery, Alabama. That is when he met Miss Rosa Parks. Did you know that Miss Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus? Some of us don't even want to give up our seats in church to sit I'm late, but that is another speech I can speak on later. Martin also led a protest of blacks throughout the city of Montgomery, where he walked hand in hand with his people. Dr. King stated that there comes a time where people, not just blacks, but all people just get tired of getting kicked around. So he stepped in and made a change. In 1960, Dr. Martin moved back to Atlanta, Georgia for more freedom rights for all people. In 1963, Dr. Martin also marched the Washington State ground with 200,000 black people, and that is when the big change came about. I have a dream that my four children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. In 1964, Dr. King received one of the most biggest awards in the world, the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1968 of April, he was assassinated, shot, and killed. In conclusion, Dr. King did his part, so now we have to continue to do ours. Remember, Dr. King went to prison, but he kept going. Remember, when they kicked the blacks and started riots, Dr. King still kept going. Some people didn't even like him, but guess what? He never gave up, and he kept going. So now I will leave you with this. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Wake up and make a change and keep going for God. I love everyone. Thank you. The end.